People hate being called dumb, but Machiavelli saw something different. He believed that when others think you're foolish, you gain an advantage more powerful than intelligence itself. Freedom. Freedom to observe. Freedom to understand. Freedom to move without resistance. When they underestimate you, they expose their thoughts, their plans, and their weaknesses. Because in their mind, you're no threat. And that is exactly when you become the most dangerous person in the room. Today, I'll show you the Machiavellian trick that turns their insult into your greatest weapon, and how the dumb one becomes the one who controls everything. When people think you are dumb, you hold a type of power that most never recognize. Machiavelli believed that appearing weaker, slower, or less intelligent than you truly are can become a tool sharper than any visible strength. When others underestimate you, they naturally relax their guard. They stop calculating around you, stop hiding their strategies, and stop treating you like a threat. This shift in their attitude creates an invisible opening and advantage that only the quietly observant can use. The moment someone decides you are harmless, they reveal a part of themselves they would never show to someone they fear or respect. They speak more openly, they display their intentions more clearly, and they share information without caution. All of this happens because they assume you are not capable of recognizing its importance. This is the moment a real strategist begins winning. In human behavior, underestimation is a doorway. If you look unintelligent, people will attempt to dominate conversations, hoping to shine in comparison. The more they talk, the more you learn. The less you speak, the less they know about you. Machiavelli understood that real influence often comes from what others do not see, not what they do. By allowing others to assume you are simple-minded, you sabotage their ability to predict your true intentions. They become confident, careless, and eventually predictable. When someone thinks you're not capable of understanding their tactics, they stop hiding them. When someone believes you lack strategy, they reveal theirs without noticing. When someone believes you pose no threat, they show you exactly where they are vulnerable. This dynamic is powerful because the world is filled with people driven by ego. Ego blinds them. It pushes them to underestimate anyone they think is beneath them. You are not fighting their mind, you are manipulating it. Their arrogance becomes your shield. Their assumptions become your camouflage. Their confidence becomes the trap they walk into. By embracing their underestimation, you gain access to their real selves, not the version they show disciplined adversaries. You see how they think, how they react, and where they are weak. You see their laziness, their impatience, their fear, and their pride. No one hides their flaws from someone they consider a fool. This strategy also protects you. If people think you're not capable, they won't prepare defenses against you. They won't sabotage you. They won't feel competition. They won't challenge you. They won't block your opportunities because they don't consider you a contender. You move quietly through situations, while they waste their energy fighting others they see as equals. They burn their strength competing on the battlefield while you advance unnoticed. When the time comes to act, you face less resistance because they never thought to stop you. Using this trick does not mean you must truly be dumb, nor pretend excessively. It is simply the art of not showing your full intelligence immediately. It's the refusal to reveal your sharpness until you need it. You allow others to misjudge you while you study them, learn from them, and prepare your position. The moment you reveal your real capability, it becomes a shock, powerful enough to shift the balance in your favor. People are not threatened by the person they think is clueless. They are destroyed by the person they thought was. Silence is one of the most underestimated tools in human interaction, and Machiavelli understood its power better than anyone. When you appear less intelligent than you truly are, speaking less becomes your greatest advantage. People are inclined to underestimate those who do not voice every thought, assuming that quietness is a sign of weakness or ignorance. This underestimation encourages them to speak more freely, revealing details, plans, and intentions they would normally guard carefully. The more they talk, the more you learn. Listening attentively allows you to map their mind, to understand their motives, and to perceive their strategies without exposing your own. In a world where people often overvalue those who speak loudly or assertively, remaining silent becomes a subtle, invisible weapon, allowing observation to take the place of action until the right moment arrives. When others believe you lack insight, they reveal themselves more fully. They drop hints, boast unnecessarily, or reveal frustrations and desires that are usually concealed. By staying quiet, you create a space where their ego dominates the conversation, allowing you to collect valuable information. Every careless word becomes a piece of a puzzle, a clue to their weaknesses, priorities, and fears. This is not passive behavior. It is active strategy. You are not merely listening, you are analyzing, cataloging, and anticipating. Machiavelli would argue that true intelligence is shown not by speaking, but by understanding the layers beneath every word, gesture, and decision. Listening more than speaking also gives you control over perception. People often judge the silent as thoughtful or even cautious, which adds to the misjudgment that they think you are less capable. Their assumptions work in your favor because they shape their behavior around a false premise. They may over-explain, overcommit, or make mistakes in their efforts to impress or dominate you. Every error, every misjudgment, becomes a strategic advantage. By revealing little and absorbing much, you manipulate the situation without anyone realizing it. The information you gain in silence is more valuable than any immediate action because it gives you a full understanding of the environment and the people within it. Silence also allows you to remain unpredictable. When people cannot anticipate your thoughts, actions, or reactions, they act based on assumptions rather than reality. The quieter you are, the more they fill the gaps with their own projections, often leading them to underestimate you further or to reveal more than they intend. In negotiations, conflicts, or social maneuvering, this unpredictability is a form of power. People plan around what they see, not what you hide, which means their strategies often fail to account for your hidden knowledge. Moreover, listening without interruption builds trust subtly. People feel heard and understood. Even when you appear disengaged, they may unconsciously lower their defenses around you, believing your quietness is a sign of naivety or disinterest. This psychological space allows you to extract more information and to observe how they behave when they feel safe. Machiavelli would describe this as controlling perception. By presenting yourself as unthreatening, you manipulate others into revealing their intentions, giving you an advantage that overt aggression or confrontation could never achieve. Finally, speaking less and calculating more cultivates patience. While others act impulsively or overexpose themselves through constant dialogue, your silence allows you to wait for the precise moment to act. It teaches restraint and strategic timing, ensuring that when you do reveal your intelligence or make a move, it has maximum impact. In a society where many judge competence by visibility rather than subtlety, the silent observer holds the power to outmaneuver and ultimately control outcomes without ever appearing to challenge the world around them. Observation is one of the most potent tools in Machiavelli's strategic arsenal, and when people underestimate you, it becomes even more valuable. The less they think of your intelligence, the more freely they behave, revealing their patterns, intentions, and vulnerabilities. While others are distracted by appearances and egos, the quiet observer can gather knowledge that is far more powerful than any immediate action. Watching without being watched allows you to map the landscape of human behavior with clarity. You notice the small habits, the subtle expressions, and the inconsistencies that expose truth behind words. Machiavelli understood that knowledge is power, but knowledge obtained without revealing your own hand is even more dangerous. By remaining in the shadows, you gain insights that others, blinded by arrogance or overconfidence, never see. People are most revealing when they believe there is no threat. They speak carelessly, overcommit, and unconsciously demonstrate their priorities and weaknesses. Each interaction becomes an opportunity to learn about their alliances, their fears, and the strategies they intend to use against others. The underestimated individual has a vantage point that others do not expect, a position from which to watch without interference and to understand the game before it is fully played. Machiavelli argued that those who act too soon, without full comprehension, often stumble. Observation allows the strategist to anticipate moves, predict reactions, and identify moments of opportunity. The silent observer gathers not just facts, but patterns, seeing the world as a chessboard and all people as pieces whose positions are revealed over time. This shadowed study of human behavior is not passive. It is active preparation. By analyzing every word, action, and reaction, you are building a mental map of the strengths and weaknesses of those around you. You see who is impulsive, who is cautious, and who is secretly ambitious. You notice alliances forming, intentions shifting, and strategies being laid bare. Each subtle revelation is a resource, a piece of leverage that can be used when the right moment arrives. Machiavelli would argue that to strike without preparation is to act blindly. To strike after observation, armed with understanding of the human mind, is to act decisively and effectively. Being underestimated enhances this observational power because it removes suspicion. When people do not see you as a threat, they do not hide their intentions. They act as they would when no one is watching, allowing you to gather information that is otherwise obscured by caution or pretense. This creates a paradox. Appearing weak grants the strongest advantage, while they are focused on proving their superiority or dismissing your capabilities. You quietly study, calculate, and position yourself. Their confidence and overexposure become tools in your hands. Every word they speak, every action they take, is material for strategic analysis. Observation in this context also cultivates patience and timing. The one who watches does not rush into conflict or Machiavelli emphasizes that knowledge without timing is incomplete. Knowing what is happening is useless without understanding when to act. By patiently collecting information, you are able to wait for the perfect moment to leverage what you have learned. Acting too early or too late diminishes the impact of the intelligence you have gathered. The underestimated individual, therefore, is not only a student of people, but a master of timing, waiting until the moment when insight can be transformed into decisive advantage. Finally, observation while being underestimated fosters adaptability. You are constantly learning, adjusting, and refining your understanding of those around you. Each interaction provides new data, new insight into motives, weaknesses, and tendencies. This constant gathering and processing of information allows you to move strategically through life, responding to events with precision rather than reaction. Machiavelli would argue that those who act without observation are exposed and vulnerable, while those who watch silently, unseen and underestimated, command a power that is invisible until it strikes, and undeniable when it does. Timing is everything when it comes to power, and Machiavelli understood this principle more than most. Striking too early, revealing your capabilities too soon, or acting without full preparation often leads to failure, no matter how skilled or intelligent you are. The underestimated individual has a unique advantage. They are not pressured to prove themselves immediately. Others believe there is nothing to fear, and that gives the strategist the freedom to wait, observe, and calculate every move carefully. Patience is not inaction. It is deliberate preparation. By waiting until the precise moment when the outcome can be controlled, the underestimated person ensures that their actions carry maximum impact, and that the element of surprise is fully leveraged. Machiavelli would argue that the secret to power lies not in being the first to act, but in being the last to act with certainty. When people assume you are less capable than you are, they behave without caution. They make moves, commit to plans, and reveal intentions that would otherwise remain hidden. If you respond immediately, you may expose your own abilities too soon, removing the advantage of surprise. Acting too quickly also risks engaging with incomplete information. Timing allows you to gather intelligence, identify patterns, and understand the dynamics at play before committing to a decisive move. The underestimated individual uses the perceptions of others as a cover, allowing opponents to exhaust themselves or make errors that can be exploited. The delay is strategic, not passive. It is a way of letting the environment unfold while positioning oneself to act with absolute precision. Machiavelli emphasizes that power is often gained in the moments others overlook. While the confident or arrogant may rush into action to assert dominance, the silent strategist waits for vulnerabilities to appear. The underestimated person studies weaknesses, observes alliances, and recognizes shifts in the balance of influence. When the timing is right, a single action can have disproportionate impact because it is both calculated and unexpected. Acting prematurely diminishes the shock. Acting too late allows others to fortify defenses. Strategic timing transforms intelligence into power and insight into control. This principle also extends to relationships and social dynamics. In negotiations, debates, or competitions, revealing your full capability at the wrong moment can provoke resistance or envy. By waiting, you allow others to reveal themselves first. Their overconfidence, miscalculations, and assumptions become a resource to manipulate. You gain the upper hand by understanding how they operate and identifying the exact moment when your intervention will shift the balance in your favor. Machiavelli teaches that the patient strategist is far more formidable than the impulsive actor, because the former moves not according to emotion, but according to the precise moment, dictated by circumstance and observation. Timing also amplifies the psychological impact of your actions. When someone finally realizes that the person they thought was dumb has been quietly planning, observing, and calculating, the effect is startling. The shock of revealed competence magnifies the actual power of the action itself. Surprise is not merely tactical, it is psychological. The underestimated individual gains not only a strategic advantage but also a mental edge, as opponents are caught off guard, disoriented, and often overreactive. Machiavelli recognized that perception and psychology are as critical to power as actual strength or intelligence, and that well-timed action exploits both. Finally, waiting for the right moment teaches discipline and foresight. The underestimated individual is constantly analyzing risk, evaluating options, and preparing contingencies. This discipline ensures that when the moment arrives, the action is decisive, effective, and transformative. Machiavelli warns against impatience, because hasty action without full knowledge is one of the most common paths to failure. By understanding that timing is a weapon, the one who is underestimated transforms invisibility into power, delay into strategy, and patience into the ultimate tool for outmaneuvering everyone who ever doubted them. Arrogance is one of the most predictable flaws in human behavior, and Machiavelli understood that it can be used as a weapon against those who recognize it. When people overestimate themselves, they take unnecessary risks, speak without caution, and assume they are invulnerable. This overconfidence blinds them to subtle threats and leads them to misjudge situations and individuals. The underestimated person can exploit this arrogance, using it as a tool to gain insight and create opportunities. When others believe you are less capable than you truly are, they act boldly and carelessly, revealing weaknesses, priorities, and hidden ambitions that would remain hidden if they were wary of your intelligence. The key is to allow their arrogance to drive them into predictable patterns while you remain silent and observant, positioning yourself to take advantage at the right moment. Machiavelli emphasizes that the arrogant are often their own worst enemies. They overcommit, overexpose, and act without the restraint that caution would dictate. By understanding this, the underestimated individual can manipulate circumstances so that the arrogant person as confidence becomes the instrument of their own downfall. When people believe they are superior, they assume they have already calculated every risk, and they often fail to anticipate the subtle strategies of those they dismiss. This failure to anticipate allows you to shape outcomes from the shadows, directing events subtly while remaining unchallenged. The arrogance of others creates blind spots, and a keen observer can exploit these blind spots to achieve objectives without direct confrontation. This dynamic also extends to social and professional interactions. People who are overconfident tend to underestimate the subtle influence of those they perceive as weaker. They may dismiss your opinions, ignore your presence, or fail to guard their secrets carefully. Each of these behaviors is an opportunity. By allowing them to overextend themselves, the underestimated individual can gather intelligence, form alliances, or position themselves strategically. Every boast, every careless statement, every display of assumed superiority is a piece of data that can be converted into power. Machiavelli understood that patience, observation, and the manipulation of ego are more effective than force or confrontation in gaining advantage. Exploiting arrogance also involves controlling the timing and nature of your interventions. The underestimated person does not confront the arrogant directly or challenge their overconfidence prematurely. Instead, they wait until the arrogance leads the overconfident individual to make a critical error or to expose a vulnerability. Act in a precise moment maximizes impact because the arrogant person is unprepared, unaware, and psychologically overextended. The shock of being outmaneuvered by someone they considered weak or incapable often has a psychological effect as strong as the practical consequences of the action itself. Machiavelli recognized that surprise and the exploitation of misjudgment are key elements of strategy, turning perceived weakness into a decisive advantage. Furthermore, arrogance creates opportunities for manipulation. People who assume superiority are easier to mislead, misdirect, or manipulate into actions that serve your interests. They project their confidence into every interaction, assuming that their judgments are correct, and in doing so, they reveal both intentions and blind spots. By remaining underestimated, you can subtly guide their decisions, encourage overreach, and shape outcomes without ever appearing to act aggressively. Machiavelli would argue that the highest form of control is influencing others' actions, while they believe they are acting freely, and arrogance is the gateway to that control. Finally, leveraging arrogance requires restraint, observation, and timing. The underestimated individual must resist the temptation to expose their intelligence too early or act impulsively. By allowing the arrogant to operate unchecked, the observer maximizes both insight and opportunity. Every move the arrogant make becomes predictable and exploitable, and the underestimated person positions themselves to strike when the imbalance is greatest. Machiavelli teaches that those who respect the power of others' flaws, especially arrogance, can turn the arrogance of opponents into a tool, using it to outmaneuver and ultimately dominate those who once believed themselves invincible. The power of surprise is one of the most potent strategies in human interaction, and Machiavelli understood it better than most. When others believe you are incapable or less intelligent than you truly are, they lower their defenses and act without caution. They do not anticipate that the person they have underestimated is quietly studying them, learning from every action, and waiting for the perfect moment to act. This is where the underestimated individual gains the ultimate advantage. The unexpected revelation of capability has a psychological and practical effect far greater than a predictable demonstration of skill or intelligence. The shock alone can destabilize opponents, forcing them to reevaluate their assumptions and creating opportunities for decisive action. Machiavelli would argue that the timing and execution of surprise are as important as the action itself, because the mind reacts more strongly to what it did not expect. When the moment of surprise arrives, the underestimated individual converts patience, observation, and restraint into action. All the information gathered while appearing harmless becomes a strategic asset. The underestimated person knows exactly where to strike, how to act, and what outcomes to anticipate. Others, confident in their assumptions, are unprepared for the precision and insight with which the action is executed. This unpredictability amplifies the effect, not merely because of what is done, but because of the cognitive dissonance it produces in those who misjudged you. They are caught off guard, unsure of how to respond, and often overreact in ways that further benefit the strategist. Machiavelli understood that perception and surprise are inseparable. The mind underestimates what it does not see, and when reality contradicts expectation, control shifts rapidly to the one who planned it. Surprise also magnifies influence and authority. When someone reveals their true capability after being underestimated, their credibility and power increase dramatically. People are not just impressed. They are forced to recognize the strategist as someone to be taken seriously. The underestimated individual transforms from a background figure into a central force in the situation. This shift is not achieved through confrontation alone, but through calculated revelation. At the exact moment, it will have maximum impact. Machiavelli emphasizes that those who act too early or reveal too much lose the advantage of timing, but those who wait patiently and then act unexpectedly achieve both strategic and psychological dominance. The element of surprise can also be used repeatedly in strategic contexts. By carefully choosing when and how to reveal intelligence or capability, the underestimated individual can manipulate expectations, keeping opponents off balance and continually exploiting their assumptions. Each successful surprise reinforces the perception that they were previously underestimated, making future actions even more impactful. Machiavelli notes that the accumulation of these small but decisive shocks strengthens position and reputation, allowing the strategist to operate with increasing freedom while others remain cautious, reactive, and uncertain. Furthermore, the power of surprise relies heavily on discretion and restraint. The underestimated person must maintain a facade, avoiding hints of the intelligence and strategy being cultivated in secret. Revealing too much too soon undermines the advantage, as opponents adjust their behavior once they recognize the threat. The key is subtlety. All preparation, observation, and calculation must be invisible until executed. Machiavelli would argue that invisibility and unpredictability are allies, because the mind cannot defend against threats it cannot perceive. By combining patience, observation, and restraint, the underestimated individual turns hidden preparation into a forceful and disorienting revelation. Finally, the surprise itself is most effective when it is decisive. Machiavelli teaches that partial action rarely achieves the same psychological and strategic impact as a fully calculated, well-timed strike. The underestimated individual waits for the moment when the maximum effect can be realized, ensuring that the surprise is not only unexpected but also overwhelmingly powerful. By striking when others least expect it, control shifts instantly, confidence falters, and the underestimated person gains the upper hand. Surprise is not merely a tactic, it is the culmination of patience, study, and strategy, transforming underestimation into absolute advantage and allowing the strategist to dominate both perception and reality. So, the next time someone assumes you are weak, slow, or incapable, remember this: their underestimation is your weapon. Silence, observation, patience, and the careful exploitation of arrogance all work together to give you the upper hand. The person they think is dumb is often the one who sees the full picture, understands the game, and knows exactly when to act. Machiavelli teaches us that power rarely comes from what is obvious. It comes from what others fail to notice, from what they ignore, and from what they dismiss. Use their assumptions against them. Strike with timing and precision, and turn the element of surprise into your greatest advantage. Because in the end, those who are underestimated are often the ones who control the entire board, silently and decisively, while the arrogant and careless fall exactly where they expected.